The exercise we are teaching is the second pull of the clean. The second pull of the clean is the final upward explosive effort of the lift, beginning when the bar reaches mid-thigh and ending with the complete extension of the hips and the knees.
As the second pull is a power exercise, it can be used in training for a range of sports that use any sort of power movement. The movement of the second pull is that of a triple extension of the ankle, knee and hip. This makes it an attractive exercise to coaches when training athletes, as it's a full body movement requiring core strength and stability, and the movement can be applied to a number of different sports. Perhaps the most simplest example of the triple extension is sprinting. This is used in a wide variety of sports and is a powerful and ballistic movement. So this suggests that performing and training the second pull will increase the power of the triple extension and can also increase the sprint speed and or acceleration. This is then applicable to a wide range of sports, the most obvious being the 100-metre sprint, but also other sports that include sprinting such as football or hockey. The triple extension is also used when jumping, which shows that the second pull could be used to train athletes that involve jumping, such as the high jump to gain a few more inches on the personal best, or for a basketballer in order for them to reach the net to dunk. A warm-up must first be performed before attempting the second pull or any other kind of physical activity in order to aid performance and reduce the risk of any injuries. The warm-up must include a pulse raiser, which is implemented in order to gradually increase the heart rate and blood flow around the body and also begin to increase oxygen uptake. This in turn increases gaseous exchange at the lungs, so more oxygen is being transported by red blood cells to the working muscles. This is why it's important to warm up with the same movement patterns as you would be doing an exercise. As we are doing the second pull, the pulse raiser best suited for this movement patterns of the exercise would be using the rowing machine, as it's a full body movement which involves the pushing of the legs and the pulling of the upper body. This should last around 5 minutes. The warm-up must also include stretching in order to increase the range of motion around the joint, which will then help prevent injury. As the exercise is a power exercise, and you will be needing all the strength and explosiveness of the muscles for the movement, it would be best to perform the dynamic stretches so no strength is lost as compared to static stretches. The best stretches to perform for this movement would also be movement specific and stretch the muscles used in the lift, so stretches such as the twisting glute stretch, standing wall stretch and the shoulder shrug. Each stretch should have around 10 reps for just one set. The final stage of the warm-up is doing some skill-specific drills. This is to increase activation in the muscle groups used in the movement and increase coordination while performing the skill.
During the second pull, there is a triple extension at the knee, ankle and hip joint. Plantar flexion at the ankle is caused from the plantaris, soleus and gastrocnemius and the tibialis posterior muscle contracting simultaneously. The agonist that causes extension at the knee is the quadricep, which is made up of the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, medialis and intermedius. Contraction at the gluteus medius, minimus and maximus, along with the iliacus muscle, causes the extension of the hip joint. Aiding these extensions is the hamstring, which is made up of the semitendinosus, semimembranosus and the bicep femoris. These all work eccentrically together. In the final stage of the second pull, the shrug causes a greater contraction of the trapezius and the erector spinae, along with the minor contraction of the deltoid and bicep brachii. Due to the final position of the clean, flexibility at the latissimus dorsi and the tricep is required to enable the elbows to form a front rack position. Research on the clean by Dryberg has shown that with an increased load, the erector spinae, gastrocnemius and vastus lateralis has a greater peak load than most other muscles. This means as load is increased to 80 to 90% of a 1 rep max, there is a greater benefit to these specific muscles.
For the starting position, stand with your feet between hip and shoulder width. with your feet pointing slightly outwards. The bar should be around 3 centimeters away from your shin. Place hands on the bar slightly wider than shoulders on the outside of your knee using a hook grip. Lift the bar off the floor by extending the knees and hips, allowing the bar to rest at mid-thigh. This will get you into position for the second pull. When the bar is at mid-thigh, keeping a neutral spine, we hinge the hips outwards and then rapidly extend them back together, creating a triple extension with your knees, ankles and hips. When your lower body reaches maximum extension, use a shrugging motion, allowing your elbows to remain extended and pointing outwards, keeping the bar as close to the body as possible. When your shoulders reach the highest point, you can then flex your elbows, pulling your body under the bar to start the catch phase. For the catch phase, rotate your arms around and under the bar, flexing your knees and hips as you take the weight. When your arms are under, lift your elbows through, making them parallel to the floor. To finish the lift, extend your knees and hips together back to a standing position.
If we was working with an athlete who was maybe a novice at Olympic lifting or had low confidence or ability levels, it might be a better idea rather than jumping straight in to try and do the full movement to break it down and learn the different stages through other exercises that are quite similar. These regressions could be the following. Initially, we might work with the athlete to improve their deadlifting technique, so getting used to raising the bar from feet level to mid-thigh with correct form to avoid injury. This is very important as it's very similar to the first pull of the clean. Another crucial movement in the clean is the shrugging motion that produces our trapezius to keep that bar nice and close to our body after we perform the hip thrust, which will naturally send it outwards. To get the athlete familiar with this sort of motion, I'd recommend something like barbell shrugs or a high pull, keeping it nice and close to our body. From there, we have to get the athlete used to using the hinge movement from the hips to generate the power to move the weight in an upwards position. For this, I'd recommend kettlebell swings, as it will get the athlete used to using a forward thrust to move that weight in an upwards direction. If after a period of time and training, the athlete is showing real competency levels with the clean, we can then start to use that for strength and power training by introducing more weight slowly and gradually to improve the athlete's strength. This can then be added into their regular training, and we could even evolve it slightly into a squat clean, which is a much more difficult skill. Another possible progression could be evolving into a clean and jerk, which is moving the bar from a front rack position at the shoulders to an overhead position. This can be done with a slight bend at the knees, and then in one upward burst of movement, we extend at the elbows and the knees to force the bar overhead. As the clean is mainly used for strength and power training, it's likely that we're going to be aiming for a very high weight load and a very low rep range. For example, the athlete might use this in the training and use 3 reps as an absolute maximum at a weight of 75 to 85% of a 1 rep max. They might have a long rest of 3 to 5 minutes before performing this again for maybe 1 or 2 sets maximum. This will be training the athlete to produce short bursts of absolute maximum intensity and effort. In other words, strength and power training.